So, basically, we are going to be looking at a game between these two bad boys who just faced off a little bit earlier. Now, we're going to try and explain this in as simple terms as possible to be sure that you understand how this damn game works. Now, Lash is a pretty highly ranked German player who is significantly improved over the last few weeks. He's playing a civilization called Zushi's Legacy, which is a Chinese variant civilization. Gento, on the other hand, he's playing Sengoku. And Sengoku is a Japanese variant civilization. Both of these civs have their very, very big strengths. And Sengoku right now, it is in a pretty good place with regards to having a lot of resources. So early game, as we can see here, he's making these yatais that he just uses his little market, which is a matsuri, also a drop-off building. That is something he's going to use to produce these yatai. The yatai is going to provide quite a bit of food for him. As you can see here, this yatai now standing between all the deer, gathering more food wherever it may stand. Now, on the other hand here, Lash is just trying to do his regular old age up. So what he does here is going for the 6-3. He's most likely, is going to be a little bit greedy. Because with this civilization, they have something called the Meditation Garden. So the Meditation Garden is a landmark you want to place between a lot of resources. Because the more resources are around it, the more resources it gives you. So this gives you passive resources. Now, because Gento is going for an interesting build, this build that he goes for, as we can see here, making these yatai in Dark Age, it slows down your age up, but it doesn't mean that your civilization is slow at all, because the yatai now gives him food per minute. So after 2 minutes, this has already paid off. And not just that, it also gives you a boost to your economy. Right now, as you can see, there's a little bar here that's filling up. And once that bar fills up, there's going to be a thing that pops right out and goes straight to your to your Matsuri, which is going to make it like a mini arcane chapel. Keep inspiring your villagers to work faster. Now, in the current meta, what's happening is everyone is going for the Cocker Township. The Cocker Township has this thing where it spawns shinobis, and those shinobis are a bit of a nightmare because they can slow down your units and they can ensure that your units just take more damage as well. So they're a great defensive units as well as offensive. Now Lash here, he says 14 on food and 3 on gold, which means that Lash here is going for what we would call fast castle. So fast castle for Zushi is actually really cheap. As we can see here, it's a lot cheaper than it is for other civilizations. Right now, 1,020 food and 510 gold, which means he's going to get pretty close. You see with these villagers dropping off deer, this means this is going to be a much faster way of getting to castle. Because with Zushi, you have a civilization that already doesn't need as many resources, but they also have an imperial official, which is supervising what these villagers are doing. So just like the CCP, they are watching and they're making sure that the villagers are working really hard and getting a little bit of an extra drop-off at that stage of the game. Now, Gento here is actually pretty smart. He knows exactly what's coming. He most likely spotted already what is going on. Let's see. Now, he is assuming, we can see that he has scouted quite a bit, but because of the observation, we don't know exactly what he saw when he saw it. But he knows that Fast Castle is coming. So he's doing something to give himself a little bit more time. And that is to make walls. Because when you're going up against a Fast Castle Zushi, you're going to play against someone who is making a lot of lances. And those lances, once they get into your economy, you are absolutely cooked. It's very, very difficult to slow them down once they start coming. But Gento is doing the smart and responsible move. He's walling up, and he's not overcommitting on yatai. He only has his 3 yatai that are busy gathering from all around, and at the same time, he is going for a faster castle as well. He didn't go for a single upgrade here, which means that he has the resources to follow suit. And even though he won't reach castle as fast as Lash, he will still be able to reach it at an appropriate time. You see that unit just delivered here, and now there's 5% extra. And another one. Now it's 10% extra. So all of these villages in this range, they are working extra hard. So behind all of this, we can see here that the meditation garden is giving a little bit of extra food here too. Food, wood, and gold, just because of where it is located. But now, with the age up, we see that the stable is coming out. Now, the stable coming means that Lash is going to start making those lances. And yes, lances are great, but they need to be able to get in. And what Gento here did is he secured himself time. He's building a sake brewery all the way behind, which just, oh my goodness. Oh my god. Guys, Beastie just cooked. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. 10 out of 10. Mmm. Okay. Sorry, the dog needed to get on the couch as well. So, what is happening right now? Gento is trying to buy himself as much time as possible. Because the moment he hits castle now, he's going to have pretty safe gold. And at the same time, he's going to be able to make units that can deal with lances. So now, he needs to make a production building. He doesn't have the wood to do so. So it is going to take a little bit of extra time here. Now we do see 2 and a 3rd lancer on the way. This means that he's on borrowed time. As long as Gento can make units, he should be able to stop this. You can see the yatai here at the back. Also trying to get a little bit of food sources. But he doesn't put it too far out. Because if he puts it too far out, these lancers are just going to take it down. Hi, Osman. So with all of this now, we have a pretty decent economy behind it. Gento has a lot of resources, as we can see, resources per minute here for him. Looking fantastic, because now he's going to be able to afford making Mounted Samurai. Now, Mounted Samurai are going to be able to deal with these lances. And Lash now had a bit of an opening. Lash had an opportunity to launch an attack, get some damage done, or to make a play for all the relics. And he tried to go for the attack, but there was nowhere to attack. So Gento 100% just countered him by ensuring he puts up walls. Because now, as time goes on, Gento is just going to be able to make more and more units. The reason for this is because Gento has this passive resource that's ticking. The yatai. The yatai is giving a little bit of extra food per minute. And slowly but surely, he'll get his upgrades too. So he wants to slow this down as much as possible. And you can see that. He puts a villager here at the front to try and repair this wall so that he gets more time to make more horses. Because with more horses comes more responsibility now. But with more horses, he's going to be able to take these on. Let's quickly look at the stats. So Mounted Samurai is at 240 HP. Lancer at 230. And he's got a Daimo. Now the Daimo, he also makes these a little bit better. So if we look at their attack, we see it's 4-4. But the Daimo in range, let me see, it increases attack speed. So this means that these horses are just going to attack a little bit better. But he needs to be careful. You can see him pulling back now. He just wants to use that charge and try to, again, slow this down. He needs more Mounted Samurai to take this fight. And Lash, he's tripling down on this. He makes more and more lances. And now he's going to go for the relics too. But now you see another charge coming in and him pulling back. Villagers now, 2 villagers being pulled. But it should be a bit too late. But that's the defensive ability that he's got. The Shinobis come out and they are going to slow down these horses. Which means that these bad boys are going to be able to chase them down. At least for a while. Because if we look at the movement speed, we will see 162. And once they're done charging, they should also go down to 162. But what happens next is quite difficult to handle. Because horse training will come out. Now, once horse training is out, we are not going to see a 162 movement speed. We're going to see something a little bit faster. That's going to mean that these samurais are going to be able to catch up to the lancers and absolutely obliterate them. So right now, Lash is asking himself, how do I get further ahead? How do I capitalize on the fact that I got castle first? His answer, trying to get the relics. Gento, though, he has also decided to make his Iku monks. So the Iku monks, they're also going to go and try to gather a Relic 2, but Lash is quick to go on the aggressive, and he picks up one on the side of Gento's base. While Gento now running around, trying to find a little bit of damage with his horses. But you see the upgrades coming in. He is getting cavalry movement speed, which is going to mean these guys are not going to be able to catch up. They're going to be able to charge in, and that's it. So these guys are trying to get a little bit of damage, as they will be able to back out pretty quickly. But with their numbers, they are able to take a pretty good fight here. We see them exchanging, but it doesn't go too well here for Gento, because there is still just a little bit more here for Lash's side. But the difference is... the reinforcements are close. So every single time a horse dies, one will quickly come to replace it. And now we have to ask ourselves, who is going to run out of firepower first? Gento, he's got the Matsuri here, which inspires all of these villagers to work faster, better, harder, and stronger. So with all of this right now, it's at 20%, so he's got a boosted economy. And behind it, Lash is running a little bit low on food. He's still got a few sheep, but this is not going to last forever. So now, pound for pound, these just don't trade out the same. So now, as we can see, Gento is moving forward. He's standing in the range of the meditation garden, because when you have when your opponent has military units in your meditation garden, it gives you less resources. The more resources are nearby, the more resources are generated. Enemy units nearby disturb the peace and reduce resources gathered. So now he's trying to find some damage, because just like Gento walled up, he knows that Lash's base is also pretty secure. But he's getting to a point now where he's going to be able to get +1 ranged defense. Which means that these horses are going to have a wonderful time diving the TC. But Lash knows this, and he realizes, hey, I'm running a little bit low on food. I need to make a different plan. I'm also going to be tapping out my gold pretty soon. I can't just keep making lances. So what this means is he mixes in a few spearmen, because spearmen, of course, they counter horses directly. But 5 spears are definitely not going to cut it. And right now, if they're all running together, that is just going to mean that your horses run a little bit slower as they adjust to the full control group. But we hear the shinobis just being popped. So these shinobis, they last quite a while. So you can see here, 38 seconds. They can now move forward. And with this forward push that they're going to be doing, they can slow down these horses if the horses get close. So we're about to see that. These shinobis are ready to launch a little bit of a grenade attack to ensure that he can get on top of these. You see him trying to charge in, he pulls out, but he knows exactly when he needs to pull out. He cannot just run with all these horses in theory, but instead it looks like he's doing an amazing job at that. The horses are just too much, the shinobis are decreasing their movement speed, doing quite a bit of work here. And just like that, all of the units of Lash evaporates. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how Gento took down the almighty Lash. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to ask myself, is Sengoku OP? Because Lash is a very formidable player. This is not as crazy as me beating Beastie, but it's definitely up there. It's like Sassy beating Marine Lord in a best of 7. What just happened here? So props to Gento. He outplayed and he knew exactly where to capitalize on the Civ. Lash just could not find a way in. Okay, so our next matchup is pretty interesting. This plays out pretty similarly in most cases. When you pick something like French, you need to expect to get tower rushed. Because French is a civilization that snowballs so quickly if you don't do early damage to them. So Lash here, he knows this. Instantly going for the barracks. So going for the barracks means he's going to make some spears and he's going to go straight for the gold. But this is something that I would expect Gento to know. So Lash already winning in the civilization selection. A lot of people would say that Japanese counters French just because of the ability to do this pretty early on. Now, the reason Japan is really good at this is because their barracks is so much cheaper. You can see here 75 wood for a barracks is pretty crazy. So with the barracks now, he's making some spears. He found where the gold already is. And Gento here now has to make a decision. Do I just send a few more villagers and try to get as much gold as I can? Or do I invest and build a tower? So I don't know if Gento's going to do either. He might feel confident enough to go without, but this is a pretty risky move to not respond to the tower rush already, or to the spearman rush at least. Now we do see that Lash is putting a few more villagers on wood, and you can see they are shift clicked to go all around. Now, usually this would mean that he might follow up with a tower, but with the amount he has on wood, I don't think this is going to be a tower follow-up necessarily. I think he's just going to go and try to push Gento off of gold. Now Gento, he sent an extra villager here, trying to make sure that he gets all of the gold he can. And we can now see he's also not going for Dark Age Wheelbarrow. So French, as a civ, they like to go for Dark Age Wheelbarrow because it is cheaper for French to get them. And also because your villagers are then just faster. So you already get ahead economically quite a bit. But because he didn't go for this, this means that he will have enough gold to be able to build a knight as well. So that's exactly the amount that he got. He went, sent all the villagers he could, and got just enough to age up and have enough for one single knight. Because now you ask yourself, okay, I have all these spearmen in my base. What do I do? Let's go see if there's more spearmen coming. We have 4 of them, but there's no villager on the way. And that's the key difference here. If he sent a villager here, that would mean the gold is completely denied. And I don't know if the thought behind this is because there is another gold that's pretty safe. But yeah, this gives Gento an opportunity to get back on the gold. So let's skip a little bit forward and see how this plays out. He ages up a school of cavalry, which means he's going to be able to make that one knight that he needs. And you can see he's still got a lot of villagers on food. Oh, sorry, on this side. 8 on food, 9 on food. And that's going to give him enough to be able to afford a knight and to be able to constantly make villagers. Now the Kura storehouse is coming up from Lash. And what you need to notice here is he's got 4 villagers on gold. Now 4 villagers on gold for Japan, usually I think they go for a 5th one as well, means that he wants to go for fast castle. So he's got 2 choices here. He can either keep making units and keep trying to deny French, but it's very obvious what the follow-up is going to be. Gento now going for the archery range so that he has an answer to these spears that are keeping him inside his base. Gento, though, he has a Royal Knight in queue, and that bad boy is going to try to collapse on the base out here. Now, we do see a little bit of that gold being used to get Tawara. Now, Tawara is just like a wheelbarrow, so this means that your villagers run a little bit faster and they gather berries faster. And that's very nice. But because he spent the gold, I'm already assuming he's not going to go for a fast castle. This means he's going to respond to all the knights. And you can see he's trying to stop Gento from gathering as much gold as possible. But Gento is quick to respond. He's already got 2 archers, making a 3rd now. I was about to say, I wonder if he's going to make more. Oh, he cancels it. He cancels it. So instead of continually making archers, he's like, okay, they did their job. Lash is going to think I'm making archers still. And Lash now pulling off of gold completely. So this means he's going to need to find a way to make units in feudal. And he needs to do a lot of work here. Because when you're up against the French, you are up against a civilization that has villages a little bit faster. Going into the TC, we see 17 seconds per villager to produce. On this side, it's 20 seconds per villager. So Lash is making a very brave choice here. He's going to fight French in feudal, which honestly is really, really scary because French, they have knights. And that already in itself is something that Lash does not really have an answer to. So he's completely pulled off of gold. We can see him getting his Takizaiku, which is your next level wheelbarrow. And that just means villagers gather berry from berries and they gather more. So trying to wall it off to ensure that he doesn't get raided by knights constantly is going to be very important here. But this gives Lash, or this gives Gento, a little bit of breathing room. And that breathing room, what he's doing with it, is he's getting professional scouts. So with professional scouts, he's going to be able to go and pick up all the deers with scouts. So when scouts go to university and they become professional, they are going to be able to run around, pick up deer, and bring them back home. But you can see, Lash is aware of this. He knows that French likes to do professional scouting. So with those spearmen, he's trying to stop as much as he can by killing the deer so that your scouts cannot just go in the dark and pick them up easily. They actually have to look at them before you click them to get picked up. So Gento now making a few more archers to deal with the spears, but Lash now goes into horses. Now keep in mind, he's got nothing on gold. So this means he's not looking at making upgrades for his units. He is just looking at a pure heavy military. He wants to get as many units as possible. But something French is great at is charging in with knights, and that's exactly what's happening here. Now, he didn't just get Lash into a position where he lost a villager. He also got Lash to be idle for a bit, which means he's not constantly making units. We don't see any... There we go. There's a horseman in the queue finally. But Lash now had to stop for a second, and that's just going to mean that Gento is going to be 1 unit up. So Gento already has a better army composition. He's going to be able to respond to this pretty easily, but Lash, he realizes this is going to be a tough one. I need more units. He tries to go and get a wall up, but these knights are still going to be able to charge in. He just needs to be careful not to lose them. And you can see now he's standing there with the knights trying to get the charge off, but the spears, they go in and they do not connect onto the villager. I think if Gento went for another quarter of a second, he would have been able to snap that villager in half. But he knows what's important, and it is not losing his knights. So now the archer is going to stand here on the stone, and you can see now Lash try to get as much stone as he could so that he's able to reinforce the tower that he has. So these raids are going to be less efficient. But now Lash is in a very strange position. He's up against French, which is standing in front of his base with a bunch of archers. He's got a majority of a spear composition, but he is getting a few horses. The problem is those horses need to find a way to get on top of these archers. And a lot of pro players say that if you're playing a knight civilization, you're already ahead when it comes to army quality. So him just garrisoning his villages in here, again, it causes a little bit of delay on the eco, but it does a bit of damage to the knights. And with Gento not having his upgrades yet, what is this thing called? Chivalry. It means his knights don't generate out of combat. So, as we can now see, Lash is just trying to get that wall up, but the knights got in, and they got another villager. But you can see, he's being so careful about this. He doesn't want to lose a knight. He just... Oh, and another one gets in. But now this one is a little stepsister stuck with the horsemen surrounding him. And this is a major, major loss if he goes down. But you can see... He's trying to find a little bit of damage with the knight. He tells himself, okay, it's going to die anyway. Let me see what I can do. That is a pretty big loss. But at the same time, 3 villagers are dead. So this feels pretty good for Gento right now. Now behind this, remember what I said about those scouts who went to university? Here they are. These bad boys are ready to pick up all the carcasses. But because Lash went ahead and killed them, he made it a lot harder. The horseman here trying to do a little bit of a counter raid, but you can see the dead carcasses is a little bit harder for players to micro around because they actually need to pay attention to what their scouts are doing. And pro scouts is all about being able to do it all for free. And now I'm having another potato. Ah, there we go. He notices that his scouts are idle, and just like that, they pick up the deer and they are carrying it back to the base pretty slowly. So that's usually where they get intercepted. Now Lash, he's going for what Japan has on offer. And what it is actually pretty big. Because when you make samurai, French doesn't necessarily have an answer to this. French doesn't have an option to make anything that deals with it. But honestly, knights do pretty well against them. Now he's trying to run around with these and trying to get another kill or two. But Gento has stopped producing units as much, and I don't think he was active enough with his knights to make this an easy situation for French to take him down. Because Lash now is ready to age up. And Gento, I feel like he's stuck right now. Just the fact that Lash is able to go in the back of the base, raid a little bit, is already throwing him off a bit. You can see here with the horses, they make a connection. Gento takes a moment to respond, and the horses will go down, or some of them will go down. But the problem is, a villager goes down as well. And yes, Gento is still ahead. So this is pretty good for him, all things considered. But he has to keep in mind, he's going to need to find an answer to the floating gate. In Japan, those mounted samurai, they are something else. The guild hall's coming out. So this is the safe landmark if you want to play late game as well. And it gives him a lot more options. It gives him an opportunity to play the late game pretty confidently. And it doesn't put him in a position where he has to commit to Castle Age. Because the other landmark that he could have gone for, it's the Royal Institute. It gives you your knights, your imperial upgrades already. So that gives you such a nice little edge, especially when you're up against someone with no counter to your horses. But he's got a counter, he's got a lot of units, and Gento just doesn't have enough knights to make it worth it. Now, chivalry is being researched and everything else as well. And we see that Lash is moving out. He knows he's got a lot of spears, he's got a lot of answers for what Gento has. So this moving out is probably a good choice, especially as the upgrades aren't kicking in yet. But the knights do a perfect connection here, and Gento takes down a few units. The archers are now together, and they're able to now be able to micro. But the thing is, who's going to micro better? And at the same time, Lash trying to do a little bit of a counter raid. But this is now all about the micro. At the same time, another knight connecting here at the back, but the archers need to focus on these spears so that the knights don't just all go down. But very quickly, we see the army value. It's just in the lead for Gento. The thing is, Lash has a lot of resources here. He can still spend and replace, and it's not too difficult for him here. So the army does get cleaned up, but his base, all things considered, is pretty safe. And right now, we have 7 for 7 villagers killed. So, pretty good job here by Lash, even just doing it with his horsemen. Gento now pulling back. Not sure of his position at the moment. But you can see these knights are starting to regenerate because they have chivalry. So, if we switch to his view, you'll see the little pluses on top of their heads, just making sure that they are regenning just a little bit. Now, we do hear the boar going off. When you hear that on the map, your opponent is going for the boar. Ooh, but this boar is extra spicy. And he does take down a villager. One of the villagers will be paying the price. And you see him pulling this one villager back. Now, you might be wondering, why doesn't he just leave it on the boar? Well, he needs to make sure that these villagers are only 5. Because if you build a tower, only 5 villagers will fit in the tower. There's more space to gather from the boar. But if you're going to make a tower, you want to make sure that all your villagers have a safe place to go. Especially if you're up against someone who's making mounted samurai. Now we see something that Gento did the other game. Walling up significantly so that these raids don't mean anything. And honestly, I don't know what Gento's plan is here. It doesn't feel like he is confident enough to move out and try to break through. Because Lash is raiding himself. So Gento is forced to stay at the back of his base, at least for a little while. Both of them now making a play for the relics. We can see Gento keeping an eye on some of these relics as well, so they don't go over for free. Gento is escorting his monk here. So you want to escort your monk so that your monk doesn't die to your opponent's units. And he picks up one of these relics. Another one, he's most likely hoping to get that. But we see Lash also having a Shinto priest just picking up the relics. And I think this one, yeah, was from all the way on Gento's side. Now, this is a pretty juicy spot to go and try to pick it up, especially for Lash here, because it's so close to the base. But you can see Gento is aware of this, and that's why he's got that knight out there. This one is going to be quite a big contention, and that's exactly why Gento is moving one of his knights out there. But this army is starting to get scary. And remember earlier, we had a situation where Gento had the bigger army. But what I want you to notice is the food has slowed down a little bit. So he went for the pro scouts. He was able to pick up quite a few deer, but at some point they are going to run out. And you can see here all these villagers are just running around trying to do something, but the food sources are getting less and less. He's now on berries, which means at some point he's gonna need to transition to farms, and that is never a good feeling as as French. When you're playing French, you feel uncomfortable transitioning to farms because it just gets so expensive. He does see the units gathering around here, and he needs to be careful because if they collapse on him, those mounted samurai are going to be really tough to handle. And they are moving forward now. The tower or the outpost, it is protecting those 5 villages, but you don't want to overcommit here. We do see a little bit of stone being gathered here at the back, and usually French does this because they want to get a keep. And this keep is not for protection, it's to put between your buildings so that they are a little bit cheaper. French gets a discount when you put a keep between all these buildings, so you'll see French going for a keep in their base very often. The knight gets shut down, and we do see that Lash spots the knight on the relic at the bottom as well. So right now, Gento is the one with 2 relics in his base, and Lash hasn't seemed to put them in just yet. He brought them a little bit closer to the base with his priest that spawned from the landmark, but he hasn't been able to secure a building for them just yet. Now the upgrade is coming in. He's getting Yumi Ashigaru upgrades, but he doesn't have any Yumi just yet. But getting that upgrade is telling me we might see a little bit of a switch to Yumis pretty soon. They're cheap, and they're pretty expandable and really good against, when your opponent is going for crossbows or arbs for French. Now Lash is slowly closing in. As the food sources are running low, this is going to be a little bit harder for Gento to stay on top of. Gento picks up that relic as well. He does manage to move out a little bit here. We do see the knight hopefully not going to be able to get hit, but the big army is finding its way in, and that's... Ooh, Gento is also going for a second TC, and this second TC might end up being so expensive if he gets caught out. He cancels it, and he's probably going to build a keep. You're probably going to build a... Yes, there we go. He builds the keep. So, with that keep, his units are going to be significantly cheaper. And he still has a few villages here on stone, which means he can still make that second TC. And you can see that's exactly what he wants to do. Now, honestly, I would call this a pretty sneaky second TC, because this is not somewhere that you would usually scout to find a second TC. Those knights taking care of the scout as well to ensure that he doesn't know that there's a second TC coming up anytime soon. Now, Gento, he's floating a lot of gold. And this usually signifies one thing. That the guild hall is starting to get full. So the landmark he got here, the guild hall, it gives you passive resources per minute. And in this scenario, he's going to have a ton of food that he just gets to click and have. Now, with that food, he gets to make 2 choices. I can make more knights, or I can age up. Now, I think if he ages up, I think he's dead. I think he's absolutely dead, because right now there's an army in front of you, and it is significantly bigger than yours. So it does look like he's most likely going to try to age up, try to secure some resources, but Lash should be the one that can move out here and destroy him. He needs to be very careful with this. We now see that second TC also starting to do some work, but we still have a lot of food in... Oh, he just clicked it. And this could mean that it's time for the age up. Red Palace is clicked, and you do see where he puts it on top of 2 golds. But as he clicks it, it's like a Lash is smelling it, and he starts to move out. He cancels the Red Palace instantly, and let's see what the response is going to be. He puts the Red Palace a little bit safer. Now, this Red Palace here is an awful Red Palace to have, because with this Red Palace, you don't even protect your gold. And Gento is going to be in a lot of trouble for gold pretty soon. He's able to age up with 43 villages, which means this thing is going up at the speed of light. He is going to lose a few villages to it, but the army is going to be in a little bit of duress here as the villagers try to garrison inside. The Red Palace is peppering this army, but he still needs to be careful. This is not something that he wants to fight against a significant army. And you can see Lash knows, I don't want to fight against the Red Palace, so I'm going to move back. The Red Palace is just a keep with a lot of damage. But what this keep also does, it gives your TCs Obelisk emplacements. So now your town centers are also going to fight a little bit better. So now you see Lash trying to look for another opening. He's making more units and he's thinking about it. Do I go for Imperial myself? Or do I just keep pushing this? Because Gento is going to be starved soon. That's why Lash is over here on the big gold. Lash is keeping an eye on this. He wants to make sure that Gento does not have the ability to just walk out here and get gold for free. The only gold Gento is allowed to get is the thing that is right under his Red Palace. And this is fine for Gento, for now. But the longer this game goes, the better this gets for Lash. And Lash knows, I don't need to fight into the Red Palace. I need to do the opposite. I need to go where the Red Palace cannot protect. And he hits at the back. Now Gento, he still doesn't have the numbers to contest this. You can see the food per minute is not looking great. And Lash, on the other hand, he's got a lot of farms. He's got his Daimo Palace upgraded, which means that all of these farms work a little bit more efficiently. And now Gento is desperately going to need units that he just cannot afford. You can see the TC firing out here, as it is a little bit bonused by the Red Palace. But it's a pretty big army, and he's going to need a lot of TC shots to be able to do anything against it. And he goes straight for the Guild Hall. So this is a pretty smart move here. Going for the Guild Hall is going to stop him from getting all those passive resources. And at the same time, we see him attacking from the front, because he knows that Gento is a hungry boy. He gets the Guild Hall down, and the resources was not collected. So now Gento is stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's not producing anything, and I have no idea why. Oh, there's a horseman in the queue. And try to clean up here at the front, and at the back, he's still got this massive army he has to deal with. The Mounted Samurai trying to do a few villager kills here at the back, and they are going to be successful with a handful of them. And Gento right now probably feels very overwhelmed. He realizes, hey, my food is going to get shut down. I need to make sure that I put my farms in a safer spot. And he does exactly that. His farms under the Red Palace, so they are going to be a bit safer. But that is still a massive army. And all of a sudden, Lash is going to be able to match everything that Gento does. He gets the Tanegashima Gunsmith. So let's go take a look at this landmark here at the back. So with this thing, you get tickets. And with the tickets, you can buy units. You can buy some really nice gunpowder units. And they are wonderful to play with because they're effectively free, right? So Gento, he's desperately trying to make units. But like I said, the longer this game goes, the better it is for Lash. Lash has more relics. He has a pretty heavy setup farm transition already going. And the income per minute, it's already telling you exactly what you need to know. Lash has replaceability. He's able to make those units once they die. He's going to be able to remake them again and again and again. But you can see he's being a little bit careful about this. He doesn't have the resources for all of it. He doesn't want to fight just yet. But Gento realizes, I've been stuck in my base the whole time. I need to do something. And the thing is, he hasn't done anything for a while. He's just stood there at the back waiting to die. So he needs to find a little bit of damage, but he waited a bit too long. And now those horsemen, they are not able to find anything that effectively. Lash is the one who killed 15 villagers, and that's not something that you expect to see if you're up against a French player. But slowly, all the resources are getting depleted. This gold, the safe gold, is gone. The gold out here is not going to last very long, but it's also going to be under duress pretty soon with this army moving closer. The army value is pretty close to one another. But Lash, he's got a few... I would say a few better units here, especially considering he has a few bannermen too. So the Yumi bannerman just means, let's go see. So an aura that increases range infantry damage by 15%. So he's going to be able to make sure that those archers do a pretty good job. The crossbows now, they are looking a little scary, and Lash respects this. He wants to make sure that he gets his upgrades in, and he takes the fight when it is the right time. after all of those Imperial ones. Gento now at 1,700 stone. He's most likely going to try and use this to secure more resources, but he needs to think about it pretty quickly because 2,000 stone in the bank means you could have already made a play to get another part of your base or a base. So, unfortunately for him, there's a bit of a, I would say, a double spawn on the side of Lash. Technically, he does have his own big gold here at the bottom, but it is significantly further away from his base compared to Lash's. But you can see now, Lash knows gold is going to be the issue. And Gento, he doesn't have a lot of resource or a lot of units in queue here. Gento is very, very scared to get out of his base. And now, that army is just going to be toying around with him. You see now the mounted samurai trying to break through. And again, Gento has so many resources here at the back, and he is not doing anything with all that stone. The villagers now trying to make a way out towards that goal too. But that's 31 villagers. They're definitely going to be able to get up a keep. But they are going to pay a significant price as well. Now the armies are going to be connecting here at the middle, as he knows that his army is split up, but he has to be careful here with the knights. The spears are right on top of them, and a lot of knights are paying the price. At the back here, the mounted samurai are not with the main army, but they do get a few kills at the back too. We do see a trebuchet edging forward, but the knights are still inside of the spears and very quickly are disappearing. And this is just showing you Lash. Lash, he has experience with this. Late game is exactly where Lash wants to be. He's not in a strange position. He's played this game a million times, and you can see the amount of resources he has in the bank. He's quickly replacing what he lost. While Gento, on the other hand, he just is not spending his resources. He's getting perfectly overwhelmed with all of these guys at the back, which is so understandable. Because when you're up against someone who has mounted samurai in your back, you probably are not thinking about, oh, I need to decap the sacred sites. I need to go here. I need to go there. And Lash is very comfortable being out here on the map. You can see Gento desperately trying to get some gold. But with all of that, his units are not in position to support his villagers. Now the keep is getting boiling oil, and it's going to be necessary when this party strikes, but he's going to need to be very careful, because those villagers, if he loses all of them, he is absolutely cooked. We can see now a few more spears picking up a bunch more villagers, Lash being the one who killed 40, and that is not the last villager who's going to die, as we see him moving out now towards that big heap here on the bottom. Gento, too overwhelmed to go and decap these sacred sites. He moves through one, but selects his whole army together and is going to be able to move down. He moves down, he tries to get the villagers inside the keep, but you can see the keep dies so quickly, and I wonder if boiling oil even finished. But you can see this army is just such a difficult one to fight against, because as he's trying to make a connection, the spearmen are just on the front so fast and are able to break through most of it. The villagers going now for yet another keep, and we see the army, though, in position to try and stop this. This just means the army is not focused on these, though, which could be quite damaging. But it looks like the knights are able to get to the back. They get rid of the cannons as well. But the villagers here are doing their best to get this keep up. The horsemen are going to run around and try to surround the villagers. But the villagers are just pulling back. They know that there is a safe spot for them all the way down here at the bottom. But he does not cancel the keep just yet. Now, as these units are attacking the keep, this means that when Lash refunds it, he's not going to get the full value. Now, all of a sudden, it doesn't look that bad for Gento, right? He cleaned up a significant portion of this army. The question now is, can he replace the army that he lost in all of this? Because Lash right now can. And you can see he's just going for a horseman spear composition. But there is one unit that does really well against everything, and that's an ARB. So these ARBs are doing really well. The horses from Lash are just not getting on top of them to try and destroy them. But the front line seems to die now. And with the front line dying now, these ARBs are going to be in danger. And Gento does not have the resources to replenish this army anytime soon. So we can see the ARBs moving backwards, trying their best. Villagers back on the gold. Lash is going to need to come for this bad boy again. And we see the boiling oil did not finish earlier. But more villagers will fall as he makes that surround, and he still has not decapped the sacred sites. He's had ample opportunity to decap these sacred sites, but you can see, because he just doesn't have the same amount of tournament experience, he's not able to close this out. And again, losing villagers there on the gold with the keep going up, the units are just not in the right position. But again, this man played it brilliantly. I think Gento, especially having French against Japan, he stayed here for a while. And he's pretty good at also securing the fact that the keep is here in the middle, but he needs to find a way to deal with this army. And right now, I don't know if there's a way for him to do so, because he's still making horsemen, an insane amount, but he doesn't have the units to handle all those spears. So, Gento, he's in a little bit of a hard place. This scout as well could stand right on top of the sacred site and start to decap it. But those small things are just things that you learn if you play tournaments a lot. Because in theory, he knows it, but it's really hard to execute, especially when there are so many things happening. We see the army connecting yet again, but because of the fact that there are so many spears, this is going to be so hard for him to handle. You see the cannons trying their way forward, but very quickly the spears are going through all the frontline horses, and the arbs at the back are not going to be enough to take it once these horses get on top of them. Now, Lash doesn't need to overcommit. He kills the units and he pulls back. The reason for this is he knows that Gento is desperate for gold. There's no more gold on his side of the map. You guys can see this. The only gold he's getting is from the relics that he'd gathered earlier. And for him, this is going to be something really difficult. The horse is now moving forward, trying to get on top of these. The cannon's doing a pretty good job at this keep, but they are definitely not able to do it that smoothly, as all of the front line is now making it through. The Arbs and the Hatton Cannoneers are trying their best to clean up everything, but they just cannot. And this army cannot be replaced by Gento. Lash will be able to push right through here. Oh, he just backs off, replaces the whole army, and defends the sacred sites yet again. Now, Gento is a little bit desperate to try and get this down, and that is why he's taking these trades a little bit worse. Because for him, this is do or die. He needs to end this, or he needs to decap the sacred site. And even if he does, it doesn't mean he wins, because Lash just has the better economy. Lash has both big golds, and Gento has none. So the army going back and forth, Lash pulling back a little bit with his reinforcements. His food is not enough to replace this just yet, but Gento is giving this his last hurrah. You can see that elite Arb standing on top of the sacred site, doing his best he can. But Lash is the one with the gold in the bank. And even if this army survives, which it doesn't look like it will be be able to be replenished. Gento now doing his best at kiting, but the reinforcements are constant. He does get to step right onto the sacred site again. You see him getting a few villagers here to just ensure that this castle fires a little bit harder. Gento is putting everything into this last push, and you can see he might even be able to decap the sacred site. And Lash, the one with all the gold in the bank, Gento, the one with all the wood, but we'll see who's the one prevailing in the end. He's not able to decap it completely just yet, as the units are standing on top, trying to keep that alive. 1 minute 16 seconds is still going on, and it does look like that keep will survive. Now, this keep gets repaired with stone, so these villagers here are going to have more than enough. And you can see the sacred site timer ticking yet again. But it does look like Lash is going to step away for it from a second, but instantly goes back on. He realizes how important it is to keep. The keep doing work right now, trying to stop all these units from getting too close. You can see the Arbs trying to get at least something down, getting on top there. But the problem is, when they're on top, it means they are the front line. The keep here at the back doing quite a bit of work as it is firing at the units here. But Lash not getting overwhelmed, making sure that he is getting every single angle secured. And the only place he needs to defend is this one spot. Gento now, he's got the villager lead because of that second TC. But he has not found the way to decap this yet. He knows he needs to just keep making units as much as he can and stand on top of it. The castle now staying up, firing really hard, but Lash, he is all of a sudden not the one with the food income in the lead. Now, honestly, these orbs have been doing an amazing job, and the university upgrades are just showing us he knows what's up. But at 53 seconds, this man is playing the hardest game of his life. The Royal Cannon's firing away, and it does look like, oh, Gento is decapping the sacred site. Lash making sure that he puts all his units together here at the back, because even though he's got access to all of the gold, he doesn't have access. Oh! He stepped off the sacred site. He stepped off the sacred site. I was about to say, he needs to get back on top of that sacred site and decap it, because of those units, if he does not decap it, he would lose in the end anyway. But he gets it. And Gento lives another day, for now. Because again, we still have that gold issue we talked about earlier. And he's about to lose some very expensive units. You now see that main composition being archers. It's definitely not going to hit the same way as we saw those orbs hitting a little bit earlier. Gento giving us the game of a lifetime. Honestly, giving an uphill battle to Mr. Lash here, who is showing us that he can bleed. The problem is, Lash still had access to all the gold. He still has access to this massive gold here at the bottom. But Gento, it seems like he doesn't care. He's just going for the push, but honestly, if Gento makes the mistake here now, again, those units are not getting replaced anytime soon, the gold ones at least. So with his archers, he's trying to push forward. He's trying to find a way or a time when Lash is at his weakest, when he just lost the fight. But now, the spears again are standing on the front lines, and the archers are not doing a lot of work to all of these horses that are surrounding as well. He does kite it backwards, but now all of a sudden, the samurais get to the back line and gets rid of that trebuchet pretty quickly. So, I see in the chat someone's asking why isn't Gento trading? This is a pretty bad spot for trade. So, realistically, he could put a little bit of a market over here, but that would be the maximum he would get. The market spot is in a very, very bad position. So, I think he just realizes it's not worth it right now. But he is going to need to find a way to get gold. So at some point he might need to suck it up and go for the trade. So now with these horses, you can see he's just trying to kill anything. At this point, it's production buildings. But these archers, oh, they're not attack moving. They just moved forward. It looks like a little bit of a misstep here, but it could just be that they want to put them behind the front line. But the problem is he cannot shift click fast enough. And now it looks like Lash's army is just better quality. As we see those mounted samurais really doing the work. The horsemen, though, the reinforcements are fast and they are constant. So the archers trying to get behind that front line, because this is Gento's firepower. This is all he's got. And Lash, he's sitting back and relaxing. Even if he runs out of gold access, he still has all of those relics. He's got a few relics. You see he's also got the, what are these things called? The Yoroshiros in the forge, which means that he gets constant gold as well. And honestly, I am shocked at the performance here. Gento is doing amazingly. Now he tries to get this keep up, and the horses are going to try to stop this, but Gento's army should be enough, and I don't want to jinx him, but it should be enough to let this get up. He could have pulled a few more villagers to make sure this happens, but we do see them activating pavis, so they are going to be standing still and attacking everything in their wake, ensuring that they have that extra bit of armor. The keep is going to make it up, but a significant portion of this army died. He instantly garrisons the villagers inside, but this is not the spiciest of keeps. It will help though. And Lash, even though he's got all of this food economy, he's just not able to keep up. And I'm honestly quite surprised to see that. I think he's just at this point sacrificing so much. And the discount that is possibly coming from these keeps, because the keep, like I said before, it gives a discount on all these buildings. So your units are significantly cheaper. Look at that archer 22 food. Come on, girl, that's way too cheap. Wow. But Lash, He's holding on strong. He's trying his best. Did you see? Oh, the horse is going straight for a bombard. And getting a bombard at this stage of the game is so important. But he did back off there for a second. I backed off for a second. And now that bombard will live to tell another story another day. And the horses are just all dying. Because they are purely focused on something else. But they do get the bombard at the cost of food and wood. Which is probably a pretty good trade here for Gento. So, him just kiting backwards yet again with the horse reinforcements all the way to the front. Pavis again activated. So, this is where you want to back off and not fight this. Lash, I'm very shocked at how well Gento is keeping him under control. Another barracks going down. And another. And another. And this is just the slowest push in the history of pushes. But it does feel like Gento needs to find a way to actually try and make things a little bit cleaner. Ensure he cleans up a little bit of this map. But we can see that the horses are trying to get to the back line to deal with that bombard because they know it is going to be a problem later on. They end up not doing that and going for the spearmen instead. The archers, though, they are in the middle and they just put themselves in a very, very awkward position here. Gento quickly needing to remake all his units, but horses coming from the back yet again and doing a little bit of damage there to the bombard. But the horses do not do the job of cleaning up here and the archers will all go down very quickly, getting replaced though. Now, a trebuchet joins the party. Now, the trebuchet here for Gento is going to be important. The problem is, his opponent has a lot of horses. And the front line that Gento has doesn't have an answer to all of those horses that are going to run straight for it. Yes, you have horses yourself, but usually you need a bit of spears to actually protect them. Now with the ARBs, he's trying to make as many as possible. Every bit of resource he has, he spends on that. And with them being in the keep range, they are still a little bit cheaper. He still doesn't have boiling oil on his keeps though. And that is honestly surprising. Let me go eat another potato. Now Lash is struggling to constantly stay max population. And with all of these trebuchets now, he might need to find a way to break Gento. And honestly, I have no idea how to break him. It just feels like Gento's replaceability has been so good. Ooh, on the guild hall as well, Gento is floating 3,500 gold and he doesn't even realize it. So that is a pretty heavy amount of resources to have in your bank and not be able to use. Now, horseman raids starting to happen. We do see Gento looking for a little bit of an opening, and the horses here are just trying to get a few villages. The thing is, these villages are going to be able to be replaced, but it's at least keeping his opponent busy. He's trying to get these trebuchets to do a little bit of work, but he does need to be careful, because just like he's pushing out with those horses, we have to keep in mind, that's his front line. And with this front line that he's sending out here, he is, in essence, also opening up these guys to getting raided. But luckily for him, Lash does not see it that way. And these horses are going to be able to clean up a few villages. Lash now needing to decide if he wants to replace these villages or just make more military. You can see the horses getting a move clicked here and destroying a farm. Because that farm was asking for it. Now the horses just going everywhere, trying to wreak havoc, ensuring that this army is split up. And we see the horses now from Gento trying to get the bombard. They just don't make it. But these mangonels could be a game changer. They get a pretty decent shot here with all these units at the back. And the horses don't manage to clean up what they set themselves on doing. Very quickly, most of the army evaporates. But Gento has so much food in the bank, it feels like a never-ending answer. The horses, they are now moving forward straight for that mangonel, and it steps too far forward. He pays the price. And again, now Lash is running a little bit low on the wood. So those villagers that he keeps sending out, they're going to struggle after a while. But I mean, I feel like I've said this so many times, and every single time I've cursed the player. Now, Gento here, he's starting to run a little bit low on military as he's sacrificing so much. And I think this is where you get to the point of the game where you're like, okay, I need to raid my opponent. And it's just because that's all you know how to do here. But at the same time, the slow push is something he needs to execute perfectly. The horses now getting to the back, picking up that mangonel yet again, and now the archers are going to be able to do some work on the orbs as well. But the orbs doing quite a bit of work here. Trebuchets now being able to fire back from the keep. And we have to look at our resources. We have a gold vein about to expire, but still, no one's breaking. Horses back and forth, armies evaporating, but I want you guys to notice one specific thing between these two. A major difference, and that is the fact that Lash has no food to constantly replace this. Gento now, he is sacrificing a lot of units, but at the same time starving out Lash. He's got a lot of horses in queue, but once that is done, he is still going to struggle with this. Horsemen still cost wood, and he doesn't have a lot of it. Villagers now pull to try and keep that keep up to just help and support this fire. But it does look like the orbs are a pretty hard thing to deal with. The horses get on top of the spears. And yeah, the fact that French can do this without any gold is disgusting. And behind all of this, he's still got the guild hall that's fully stacked. I mean, now we're seeing a bit of a cleanup here, but I would love to see guild hall almost at 6,000 gold. So I think once Gento realizes that, he's gonna facepalm a little bit and just be like, hey, why did I not cash out? But at the same time, I think he has all his upgrades. He could just get a higher quality army here, maybe get a few knights in the mix. But at the same time, he needs to find something that can actually kill. And I don't really know what that is. I guess French knights are usually the answer. I would like to see where the university is. University? Market Mill University? We could get our siege upgrade. Very nice. That would be great. Court architects would be good. So there are some upgrades he could have gotten, but it's not necessarily something that will improve his pushes here, right? So now these villagers, or this army extending a little bit too far forward, and again, pulling out the horses. But Lash, as we can see, he's not at max pop. Gento is the one at max pop, and Gento is the one causing the destruction. Do you see him absolutely cleaning up the back line, but the back line also cleaning up all of his ranged units. The problem is, Gento is not able to remake those orbs. Now he is! And he's like, alright guys, we're doing a transition, we're going to the real Elite Royal Knights, and all of a sudden, he has all the gold in the world. Lash right now might be feeling, okay, I cleaned up a chunk of that army. I got this. Trebuchet under siege from a few villagers, and quickly the horsemen will clean them up. Trebuchet staying alive to Trebuchet yet another day. Wood lines getting thinner and thinner as the game goes on, and honestly, Gento Lash 1 hour game was not on my bingo card. Absolutely wild. Now these trebuchets, they are really hoping to fire at something, but I think both of these players are just standing here waiting for what will be probably the game-ending fight pretty soon, because now this is an army of knights. It's no longer a trash army. And yes, Lash is an answer to this. He's got a ton of hand cannoneers. And I'm actually a little bit worried for Gento here if he doesn't find a way to collapse on them just yet. Because with what he's got, he doesn't have mangonels to handle that very, very spicy backline of hand cannoneers. So it does look like this is going to be his fight. He says, it's time to engage. And it does look like the mangonels weren't ready for this, but he does instantly hit onto the back line. The knights trying to get to the back line here as well, but the army value is still in the favor of Gento. We will see it changing as time goes on, but we do have a few knights at the back here trying to do a bit of work, killing up a few villagers, and the army getting cleaned up, but not in the way that I expected. I see the hand cannoneers not able to keep this push going, and quickly the army value is plummeting as Lash's front line is destroyed. And Unfortunately for him, he does not have the food to replenish this front line. The knights are just too strong. And even though he had the hand cannoneers to support this, it was just not enough. Gento, in a 2-1 upset, takes down Lash. Hot damn. Absolutely phenomenal. That is wild. That is crazy. I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked at that. He is... Is Gento the next Marine Lord?